top 10 SEC games, Caleb, for the upcoming weekend. We do that right now, and it's brought to you by our good friends at Newbert Collision Center.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
All right, here we go. So the top 10 must-watch SEC football games for the entire season, that is 2024. At number 10, Oklahoma at Auburn. Why?
Yeah, so, and I want people to understand, these are it's a combination of who I think will determine champions, but also what will determine which teams are really in the race. So, Dave, you think the bottom's going to fall out of Oklahoma. I think the bottom's going to fall out of Oklahoma. You think Auburn could be on the rise. I think Auburn could be on the rise. One of those teams is going to be hoping to compete for a playoff spot in October and November. And I think this is going to be the game that really kind of determines that. And it's September the 28th. It's at Auburn, who is like the less likely team to win, which gives them a huge advantage. But this could really cement – it's Auburn's first big game. It's Oklahoma's second. But it could really cement which team between the two in October is going to be playing for a playoff spot throughout the season. And I think that's what makes it huge.
Alabama at LSU, November the 9th.
It's a default one. It's because Alabama-LSU is Alabama-LSU. And that is this decade's version of Tennessee-Florida. Is that fair to say? Yes. And I think that Alabama expects to compete for national championships. LSU is still trying to get there. The November matchup, you love that November matchup. That's just always a must-watch college football game. Every year it's must-watch.
Agreed. Missouri at Texas A&M. That is October the 5th.
Now, this is why people are going to find it crazy that I consider this a much-watch SEC game. But here's why. Dave, you and I both agree that Missouri is vastly overrated as a program right now, right? Off their 11-win season.
Agreed.
And I think Texas A&M is vastly underrated as a program. This game will prove whether or not I'm right. It's the first major test for both teams outside of – okay, so A&M plays Notre Dame to open the weekend this year. Don't know if they'll win or lose that game, but it won't really determine the whole season. This game will. If Texas A&M loses to Missouri, it's over. They're a year away. But if they beat Missouri, it proves Missouri's a fluke and that Texas A&M may be another one of those teams making a push for the playoff.
All right, so next, Texas versus Oklahoma is a default.
It's a default. But not fully, because I think both of these teams are overrated this year. Both hope to be in the playoff race. This is another game that could end the playoff race for one of those two teams. Okay. Put it this way. If Texas loses, they're out of the SEC title race. If Oklahoma loses, they're probably out of the playoff race.
We got some Tennessee games here. Alabama at Tennessee. This is not, in my opinion, a default. This is what possibly could determine a college football playoff position, because I think Alabama is likely going to make it. I think Tennessee is right on the cusp. So this would be a monstrous win. I've even heard some people calling this a swing game for Tennessee. It's still Alabama. Let's not go too far, but this would be a monstrous win for the Vols as far as the CFP.
No, this is a swing game for Tennessee. And as a matter of fact, Tennessee should expect to win this game. Honestly, they should. Okay. Yeah, this is but I will say this. If Alabama loses, then they will be playing, then they're at risk of being on the cusp of the bubble of the college football playoff. If Tennessee wins, they all of a sudden start talking potential SEC championship, however much you care about that this year. I don't really care about it this year, but however much you care about it, they kind of get elevated to not just making the playoff, but either hosting a game or getting a first-round bye. It's a huge game. But also, I mean, Dave, we do have to throw the default in only in this regard. It is the third Saturday in October.
No, agreed. There's some extent that that's going to be a default, but it matters now way more than it used to. What game are you most looking forward to? That's our poll question that's up. NC State, Florida, Alabama, Oklahoma. Caleb, the next must-watch game of the 2024 season on your list that's on offthehooksports.com is Georgia at Texas. That's October the 19th.
Yes. Now, both have major non-conference tests before they play. Georgia, for those who don't know, plays Clemson this weekend. I don't know how much of a test that is, Dave. You probably think Georgia's going to blow them out. But, opening week, you can be a little sloppy sometimes. And then Texas the next week will play Michigan, which both teams are expected to have a drop-off this year from last year. Well, Michigan, as people think, Texas will because they're in the SEC. Assuming they get past those games, this is going to be a top 5 matchup on October the 19th, the same day Tennessee plays Alabama, funny enough. And this is going to have everything riding on it in terms of playing for an SEC title, playing for a home game in the college football playoff, playing for a bye in the college football playoff. I think this could be the start of Texas getting exposed and losing quite a few down the stretch. But at the very least, Georgia at Texas in the moment will likely be a top 5 matchup.
Nothing says SEC like Texas at Texas A&M. That's number 4 on your list.
Somewhat default because this is a rivalry resuming after 12 years. Like, who doesn't want to see that, right? But at the same time, I think both teams are going to be in the college football playoff race. And by the way, because Texas A&M's on the rise, I think Texas will be more up and down than people hope. And this is a November 30th game. Dave, this game literally could be for a spot in the college football playoff. And can you imagine if that's how the rivalry rekindles?
Yeah, that'd be pretty fantastic. I'm up for that. Texas at Texas A&M, Saturday, November the 30th.
Yep, that will be. And by the way, that, not the Iron Bowl, is the biggest game of the last weekend of the regular season of the SEC. And people are going to come at me for this because I said third Saturday in October with Alabama, Tennessee. Tennessee's at home and is better than Auburn. Auburn has to visit Alabama this year. I don't care that Kalen DeBoer is there. Guys, Auburn ain't beating Alabama. That's not going to be a game. So
okay.
I'm just going to take it up front.
I see a lot of people who haven't hit the like button. Please do that. And I was checking out my analytics. A lot of you haven't turned on the notifications. So please hit like. If you haven't subscribed, do that. We would greatly appreciate it. And turn those notifications on as well. Now, Tennessee very well might be coming up next, the must-watch games of the 2024 season. I'll remind you that portions of the program are brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Rick Terry Jewelry Design is fantastic. Those fire opals are a Tennessee tradition. No question about that. Very affordable. And what I love about Rick Terry, he's a true jeweler. He can do work on your finest jewelry, and it's well taken care of. That's rickterryjewelry.com. Also, thanks to our partnership with Rick Terry, we will be giving away a Garmin. All you have to do is be a free member of Off the Hook Sports and a subscriber to the site. When we hit 8,000, we will give away a Garmin watch worth over $1,000. Rick Terry's Grade 8 Garmin Challenge. Again, all you have to be is a subscriber of this very show and this station and just a part of Off the Hook Sports. You can be a free member. So go ahead and do that QR code right there. Caleb, up next, we have Tennessee at Oklahoma. This may be the earliest game that you have on your list with a quick glance.
This is the game that will start and define SEC play. It is Tennessee at Oklahoma, September the 21st. Sorry, excuse me real quick.
I know. Caleb's going to sneeze everybody. And he sneezes 3 straight times.
The first big SEC game. No, I got it away. I was able to stop it. It's the first big SEC game of the year. I mean, it kicks off the SEC season. And by the way, poor OU, they have a run of 3 straight games against the Vols and then Auburn and then Texas. So, we'll know by October the 5th. That's the 21st, 28th, and 5th. We'll know by October the 5th what Brent Venables has as a coach and at Oklahoma. But it starts with Tennessee, and Oklahoma starts for Tennessee. So this is really a definitional game for the SEC to determine which of these teams other teams need to watch out for. How about that?
I can roll with that. Coming up next, Ole Miss at LSU, October the 12th. My question about this game is, will we know if Ole Miss is dysfunctional or super talented?
So that's kind of what this is going to reveal. Because here's the truth. Look at the schedules of Ole Miss and LSU. Now, LSU plays USC as an opener. That is a hot seat game. Lincoln Riley loses. he might be on the hot seat the rest of the year. Brian Kelly loses. Well, he's in danger of being on the hot seat going into next year because people will start to be very disappointed. So that's a hot seat game. But Ole Miss doesn't play anybody until LSU. Literally nobody. Their toughest game is at Wake Forest, Dave. Maybe Kentucky at home. You tell me, Kentucky at home or at Wake Forest? That's kind of a wash, honestly. And I got to be honest, Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss will get tested against LSU. It's a road game for them. LSU wants revenge after how they lost this game last year, by the way. And so I think this is a very much defining game. And again, a game that, let's be honest, it's going to have major college football playoff implications. There may not be room for both of these teams in the playoff.
Agreed. One of Hook's hangouts is Asia Cafe. Treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine handcrafted from guarded family recipes. 5 locations to choose from: asiacafe.org, asiacafe.org. They also have the fantastic Brazilian Cocoa Energy Booster Premix Instant White Coffee, the Golden Label coffee bag with the Lim family on it. It is absolutely tremendous energy throughout the day. It's been around since 1909. Again, you can pick it up at Asia Cafe and have the best Asian food you're going to have, handcrafted from guarded family recipes. Now, my question on our the YouTuber is, which UT game are you most looking forward to? Don't cheat and look, Caleb. Have you already looked?
No, I haven't looked.
Okay. NC State, Florida, Alabama, Oklahoma.
So you decided to leave off Georgia.
Sort of, yes.
I mean, I think for those, it's Oklahoma for me. I mean, I'm sorry, it's Alabama for me. But I think NC State's going to define this season to a certain degree. Guys, I don't really care about Florida. I don't think there's a chance in hell Tennessee loses to them if they're fully healthy.
Oh, my gosh. You know, when you say that, it's the curse of death.
Don't care. Don't care.
Okay. All right. Would it surprise you that it's Oklahoma?
No, I could see it being Oklahoma too. I think people are very excited for that game because I told you that's going to be the game. If Tennessee survives NC State, Oklahoma is the game that turns Nico into a Heisman candidate and makes him the sexiest team in college football.
Stat of the day, best bet.
But wait.
Yes.
You didn't even let me say number 1.
Oh, I thought we did number 1. Georgia and Alabama. I'm sorry.
Georgia and Alabama is number 1. Do you disagree with that? It's September the 28th. It will prove whether or not Alabama is still Alabama in the era of Kalen DeBoer, but it will also prove, and if it could also have SEC title implications. I mean, am I crazy for thinking that's the biggest SEC game of the year?
No, I don't think you're crazy. The only let me argue against you is that Alabama could very well, let's pull up their schedule. Alabama could have a loss or 2 by that point, or at least show us that this isn't Nick Saban's Alabama team. So a lot may be defined by that point. I don't know that this would be the defining game that Alabama is in rebuild mode, but
if they have a loss by that point, because they have Alex Golesh first at South Florida at home, and then they play at Wisconsin. Those are 2 semi-tests. If they struggle in either one of those games, not even lose it, they just struggle. The knives will be out for Kalen DeBoer, won't they?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, the game's on September the 28th. For some reason, I was thinking it was later in the season, so they're not going to have a loss at that point. But to your point, if Georgia thumps them by 20, then we say after that game, Georgia's still Georgia, and Alabama ain't Alabama anymore, right?
That's exactly what we say. And by the way,
do you think that will happen, or do you just want to see if that will happen?
No, I think it'll be better because I think Alabama's at home. The only reason it might happen, and I keep saying this, Jalen Milroe's not a fit for Kalen DeBoer's offense. And you know what you don't want to do when you have a quarterback who's not a fit for your offense? You don't want to face Georgia. You don't want to face that defense.